Jail ghosts. So I worked at a county jail. One night I was working in the maximum security unit on the night shift. It was pretty boring with nothing to really do except checks, where we go around and look in each cell every 30 minutes or so to make sure everything was okay and the inmates weren't doing anything they weren't supposed to. It had been about 15 minutes or so since my last check, and I was sitting in the control room reading a book to pass the time. The control room sits higher than floor level and looks out over the cell block. If a person average height were to walk right by, you would only see the top of their head. As I'm reading my book, I see out of my peripheral the top of a bald head walk past the window. I knew that nobody else was in the area, as another officer would have had to go through 2 sets of remotely open doors, and there was no way past my control room. I looked up and into the cell block. I didn't see anyone. I then looked at the camera monitors, which showed every angle of the cell block. Still nothing. I put my book down and exited the control room, making sure to lock the door behind me. In case an inmate got out their cell, they couldn't lock me out of the control room. It's uncommon, but it's possible. I walked into the cell block, shining my flashlight into some of the more dimly lit areas. I took notice that I did not hear a cell door close, so if an inmate did get out of the cell, they would have either had to close their cell door incredibly quietly, or they were hiding somewhere. I radioed for another officer to respond to my location as a backup. I began to conduct a check, making sure to count the inmates in each cell and pull on the door to make sure it was locked. When I reached the upper tier, one of the inmates was standing at the cell window and asked me what time it was. When I told him, he noted that I was early on my check and that I had been checking the doors. These guys have nothing to do but watch you. The inmate asked if I saw the bald-headed guy. He must have seen the expression on my face because he said that he was seen by somebody at least once a night, usually passing quickly by the cell windows. He said they always knew it was him because there was no bald officers on night shift. I went back to the control room and locked it behind me. I asked the officer who responded as my backup about the bald-headed guy. He was a very senior officer and said that he had never personally seen him, but it wasn't uncommon for officers to report it. I never saw the bald-headed guy again. Eventually I promoted, and every once in a while an officer or inmate will ask me about him.